Hello everyone and welcome back to Azam Sharp YouTube channel. And we will be continuing to build our hot coffee application, learning about SwiftUI and networking with a JSON API. And in the last lecture, we learned about how we can fetch all of our coffee orders and display them on the screen. We are using our own custom API that I wrote. You don't really have to care that much about the API, so I will just leave it. So in this video, I want to show that how we can perform addition, meaning how we can create a new order. Okay. So currently we are in the coffee order list screen. One of the things that I would like to add over here quickly is some sort of a navigation title. So I would say all orders. I mean, you can even type the name of your app, like hot coffee, I guess, but I'm just going to type all orders. Okay. Next, we want to allow the user to add a particular, I would say, coffee order. So how can we do that? So let's go and see over here. I can go ahead and add a toolbar. And with the toolbar, I can say toolbar content placement in this case will be trailing. And over here, we can add a button, new order, like if you want to add a new order. And we can see that the button now appears, new order. Okay. And where this will take us will be a separate screen. So I'm going to go ahead and add another screen. We will call it add coffee order screen, nice and descriptive. And this is where we will allow the user to enter information to add an order. For this, I will need a couple of different things, a couple of different state values. So I'll create those state values over here. Okay. Now, sometimes if you have a lot of state values, I mean, I know that I only have 4, and that's fine. But sometimes if you have like 8 or 10, you can create a struct to represent those things. But 4 is fine. I mean, it's completely depend on your comfort level. I'm pretty comfortable with having 4 like this. But if you're not, you can always create like a struct and put all of these things in a struct. Okay. So we have add coffee order screen. Okay. And add coffee order screen will also need access to the environment, the coffee store. So what I'm going to do is we also may need like a navigation bar. So I'm just going to inject it right here, environment, and it will be a coffee store, which we implemented last time, HTTP client. Okay. Okay, so we have this. The next thing we want to do is to create some sort of a form that will allow us to enter this information. Again, I'm just going to copy some stuff over here because creating a form is not a big deal, right? So now we have a form. You can see that we have a text field right there, coffee name right here, and all of these things correspond to the things over there in our view. Now we have another text field for total, and then we have the picker, which is right there. Great. So we've easily created a form. I can also add a toolbar. Just like the last time we added a toolbar, I can add a toolbar over here. Again, this is completely up to you. The UI is completely up to you. However you want to create the user interface, that is your decision. Trailing, and I'll just have a button over here which will say save. And I'll also make sure that the button, right now it's enabled, but it shouldn't be enabled because we haven't really written anything. So we're not even validating anything, right? So we need to make sure that we are validating the form values. So how do we validate? Well, I'm just going to write it in the view, which is the view model already. So I'm just going to go ahead and validate over here. Var is form valid, Boolean. And what exactly are we validating over here? All right. We are validating a couple of different things. We are validating that the total value, we should be able to guard the total value. So I'll say guard, let total value equals to total. We are also validating if the name is not empty. I mean, all of these things we are kind of like guarding against these things. And if the coffee name is not empty, and if the total value is greater than 0, then go ahead and return false. Else return true. Okay. Now we're using over here name not empty, coffee name not empty, but it will still allow you to press space or tabs. So what we need to do is to make sure that you are not, you cannot enter empty values. So if I go right now over here, and if I simply press space, 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 and I select something over here, well, you can already see the save is already enabled, so it doesn't really matter. Let's go ahead and disable save. So I'll say, is it called disabled? If the form is not valid, then you disable it. So initially, right now, you can see that the save button is disabled. But if I don't enter anything over here in the name, I just press space, you can see it still gets enabled. So this means that our logic for using is empty is not really working. So what I can do is I can create an extensions, and I can extend the string value, string plus extensions, and I'm going to extend the string to add a property called is empty or white space. So that is going to check that if the string is empty or it's white space. So now instead of using this, I can probably say is empty or white space, and I can use it for coffee name also. Now let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go ahead and press space, 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 and you can see that save button is not enabled, but if I entered something over here, now it is enabled. Okay. Okay, so this part is working. Okay, that's pretty good. All of the information that we're typing in the text box is automatically going to these state variables because they are already binded to the text boxes, segmented controls or picker, and all of those things. So they're already getting captured. Next, we want to save our coffee order. So once the person press the button over here, we can save it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a function over here. I'll call it save. Now keep in mind that we may use this particular view, which although is called add coffee order screen, we may use it to update also. So this name for save might actually change to save or update or something like that. So what do we do in the save? Well, in the save function, we will, first of all, we can actually get the total, or we can unwrap the total. So I'll say guard let total equals to total, return. Okay, so we're just unwrapping this part. All right, you can even throw an error, I guess, if you want to over here, but I'll just keep it like this for now. It's going to be an async function, and now we can create a new order. So I'm going to create an order. We're going to pass in the name, pass in the coffee name, pass in the total, which is total, and pass in the coffee size. What is coffee size actually? Oh, it's just called size, I guess. So size. Coffee size might be a better name, right? I'm just going to name it coffee size. So let's go ahead and change that. It's a little bit more descriptive. I like descriptive things. I'm just going to change that over here. Okay. And this is going to create an order, well, create an instance or an object of an order, but we still have to save it. And how do we save it? We save it by using one of the functions that we have to write inside our coffee store. But you can see that inside our coffee store, we don't really have any function. So let's go ahead and write it. create order. And we can pass in the order. Async throws. So order is a struct, right? And what we need, if we want to post something, we want it to convert it, we want to encode it. So what I can do is I can use JSON encoder over here, not decoder, JSON encoder. Oh, keep on coming decoder. Here we go, that's the encoder. And we can call encode on the order itself. This is going to give us something. So I will say order data. Now, if you want, you can also create some helper function on the order itself, and you can say order.encode, and that will just encode the order if you don't want to use the JSON encoder like this. But right now, it's fine. Next, we're going to create a resource. Now, when we're creating the resource, it's going to be a little bit different because remember, originally when we created the resource, we did not specify the methods. We don't really need headers, but we did not specify method because the method by default on line number 22 was a get method, and that's why we didn't specify. But in this case, we are actually posting. So we need the URL. We don't have the URL. We'll get it from somewhere. We can use post, and we can pass in the data, order data. We don't really need headers. I mean, by default, we are already adding the JSON header or the application JSON. And the model data, like what are we expected to return? We're going to get the data, which is order. Okay. Now comes the URL. Let's go to our constants. And I'm just going to put well, I guess we already have the URLs, right? New order. Now, URLs, you can create it in an enum way, but I'm taking the most easy, straightforward path, just creating these URLs in the form of constants. Let's go back again. So this means that I can say constants dot URLs dot new order. And this is going to give us some information like a resource. Let's go ahead and put that resource. Perfect. And now we can use HTTP client.load that resource. Again, this is going to give us the order back because that is what the server is returning. Try await. Okay. So once we get the order over here, we can add that to our orders array. So I can say orders.append the order. Okay. So it's nice and simple. Nothing really complicated going on over here. Now let's go back to our add coffee order screen. You know that we have injected the coffee order as the environment value right there, or environment object, coffee store, but we never really accessed it. So we can access it now easily by saying environment coffee store dot self private var coffee store. Inside the save function, now we can go ahead and use that. So I'll go and I'll say coffee store dot save. No, not save, right? Create order, and we simply pass in the order. Now this does require try catch, so I'm just going to wrap it over here and print out the error. For now, try await, and that's pretty much it. That's how we will actually order something. Okay. Now the add coffee order screen will be shown in a sheet, in a modal, which we will cover a little bit later, but at least this should allow us to save the coffee order, hopefully. Make sure that you call it. You can see in the save function, we're not, or the save button click, we're not even calling the save function. Now, since the save function is async, I can't simply go over here and call it like this, because we're not in the async context. There are multiple ways of calling the save function. The most straightforward approach can be just wrapping it with a task and then awaiting on it. Because task or unstructured concurrency over here is creating the async context, and now we can use it to call the save function. This is one way, and I think in this situation, this is perfectly fine. The other way, what you can also do is, let's go and I'll show you over here. By the way, I am going to use the first way or the first option, but I'm still going to show you the other way. Okay, so this is unstructured concurrency. This means that if you call the save function, if you press a button and you start this particular task, which calls the save function, and something happens, maybe you decided you want to just close the modal or the view just goes away, then this particular task will not be canceled. It will still go and add that task. Now, in this situation, I don't really much care. I mean, if you are entering information and adding a new coffee and you press the save button and accidentally maybe close the view or something happens to the view, but you already press the save button, I don't really want to cancel the task because, I mean, I'm adding a coffee order. So you should go ahead and add the coffee order. In some situation, you don't want to do that. If you close the window, you do want to cancel the task. In those situations, what we can do is create a variable, like a state variable called saving. And instead of using the task modifier over here, we can say saving equals to true. And we can create a task dependency over here. So this is the task view modifier, which we have already used in our coffee order list screen. But one of the things is that you can pass in the ID and provide a certain value. So this ID is basically saying that if saving changes, then I'm going to fire this. So saving is changing because on line number 58, saving changes and the task modifier fires. And one of the benefits of task modifier is that if this task is performing a task, whatever that intensive task is, and the view just goes away, then the task will be canceled. So over here we can say if it is saving, then we can go ahead and call the save function. All right. And I guess after calling it, we can also do like set it to false so that it doesn't really call it again. All right. So this is one of the other ways that you can do it. Now, as I mentioned earlier on, in this scenario, I don't really care that if you are closing the window, something happens to the view. I mean, I just want to save something. So in this case, it is okay for me to simply create this unstructured dependency and call the save function. This means that I don't really need the saving and all that view modifier part right now. I think for the task modifier with the dependency, it will be making more sense. It will make more sense if you were fetching something and you obviously don't want to fetch a lot of data if the view goes away. So you want to cancel that task. So in those cases, it will make more sense. Okay, so let's go ahead and see that if this is working for us or not. I'm going to go ahead and add a particular order. Let's call the order for Stephen Smith. Coffee name. Coffee name is, let's say, just hot coffee. And the total medium is fine. Or let's do a small and save. Okay, so I'm not sure if it's saved or not, but we can always go and fetch our orders over here. And there we go. You see that right there? Stephen Smith, coffee name is hot coffee, total is $4.50, size is small, ID is 4 now. So it is actually saving on the server. So that's great. Now, another thing that we want to do, since this will eventually be shown in a modal, we want to dismiss the modal. So if you want to dismiss the modal, we can just use the environment value for dismiss, private var dismiss. And once everything is saved, we should be able to dismiss a modal right over here. Now, one of the good things about this dismissing the modal and using this approach of creating an environment and managing the coffee store is that if you go to your coffee order list screen, the coffee order list screen is also observing the same coffee store. Now, since the array orders have been modified, it will note that change and it will automatically refresh. So you can actually see now we have a new coffee order. But let me go ahead and add it again. So I'm going to say, oh, this new order doesn't really work. So let's go and add another state variable. I'm going to just say is presented for now. There we go. And when we say new order, I'm just going to say is presented equals to true. And we can use a sheet over here. Is presented, and the content will be add coffee ordered screen. Perfect. Now, when I click on new order, you can see that it shows up. Pretty cool. Okay, what should we add over here? Let's go ahead and say Julia. Okay, coffee. Let's say hot coffee. Total $3.59 and a large. Oh, it doesn't have a save button over here. Okay, so probably we have to wrap all of this stuff in a navigation stack to get our bar. There we go. Okay, and it doesn't really have any title, so that also we can probably fix over here. Let's go ahead and add some title. Dot navigation title, new order. All right, I'll go back to the coffee order list screen. Great, so we have the order now. Now I can go ahead and write something over here. Julia Doe, coffee name, Turkish coffee, that's what I drink, and $5, large. Save it, Julia Doe. See that? And I think when you start using this kind of approach with your architecture, where when you have data that is meant to be shared with other views, and you're creating these stores, and every view, every screen who needs the data is using that particular store, then you will see that your views, they refresh automatically. And they are, you don't have to pass any flags to it that, oh, now I've added a new order, please refresh. No, use SwiftUI the way it is designed to be used. Don't try to invent something, invent different patterns, or don't try to invent different ways or workarounds to work with SwiftUI. I mean, SwiftUI is great if you just use it plain vanilla and try to just keep everything very simple at the core. All right, so there you have it. We have listed all the orders. We can also add a brand new order, and our list automatically updates, and our server now has that order. Okay, so in this lecture, in this video, we took a step further, and now we are able to also create orders apart from listing the orders. So hope you have enjoyed it. And please like the video, share it with your friends and colleagues. And yes, I do have one more thing to mention. And that thing is my website, azamsharp.school. Become a highly valued iOS developer. Now, Azam Sharp School contains one of the largest catalogs for iOS development videos. You can go over there and check out all the amazing reviews. And my website and my courses are being used in many different companies. You can actually see all these different companies. You have Apple, LinkedIn, AT&T, Chase, Comcast, and many more. So you are in good hands. And if you look at the pricing over here, you get access to all the courses for a monthly price, or you can save $100 and if you go with annual. And look at the courses. I mean, the list just goes on. Supabase for iOS developers, that's a brand new course. Swift Data, SwiftUI Architecture, Reactive Programming, Core Data Bootcamp. This is my personal favorite. The full stack iOS development, meaning you're going to learn not only SwiftUI, but also Vapor, the backend. MV pattern, navigation, server-driven UI. I mean, test-driven development, this the reality kit, machine learning. Holy cow. I mean, that's a lot of courses. And also, there are some free courses, right? If you want to just try out, here's a free course for you. SwiftUI Fundamentals. Check out this free course. Enjoy it. You will know my teaching style, which you already know if you're watching this video. And apart from that, I also do a lot of workshops. Now, these are 3-hour hands-on workshops. All right, no slides. You're actually going to be learning a lot of stuff in this workshop. The second one, or this one, is coming up on September 28th. 3-hour workshops, Swift Data Fundamentals with Architecture, Relationship, Testing, and even CloudKit integration. So this is the best way to learn. Just attend the workshop. I'll be there every step of the way. You'll get all the code. You'll get the repository, a lot of stuff. I mean, these are very, very intense workshops. All right. So check out azamsharp.school. Hopefully you have enjoyed this video. Thank you so much.